Hi, in this video I'm gonna talk a little about my Hermes agent setup, which is these autonomous agents, why I use Hermes over OpenClaw, what I use it for, because that's always been my main problem myself, but I finally cracked the nut in trying to figure out what I actually can use this for, and in general how my setup is. So let's get into it. So what is Hermes agent? Hermes agent is similar to OpenClaw if you know that. But if you don't, it's essentially some kind of software you put on your machine that have some instructions on how it should behave, just like an LLM model. Various skills and tools for that. And most important, compared to many of the other things you get cron jobs, meaning you can have scheduled jobs that do various things. Underneath, you choose a model provider, OpenAI, Anthropic, and so on. And you often also put in a messaging platform, meaning you get something where you can talk to the agent without being at your machine. In my case, and my primary use case for all this is to automate various aspects of my life so I can just set them up and forget them. I will get more into that in 1 second. My Hermes agent runs on Windows, and as of this recording, I have made 10 different skills and 8 different cron jobs. I've only been running this for a couple of weeks, so more things will probably come along. For communicating with it from the outside world, I use Telegram, and for model provider, I use OpenAI via their Codex subscription. So why am I using Hermes agent that you might not have heard of compared to OpenClaw? Well, OpenClaw is what really started this trend, despite actually Hermes agent been built before OpenClaw, but it was the one who went viral. And because of all those people, there's a big community. But in general, OpenClaw is mostly aimed at Mac machines, and it's not very good on Windows or even the Windows subsystem for Linux. It's also kind of unstable. It feels like a vibe-coded app compared to something real. It's very unstable. The gateway that runs on your machine is often disconnecting, and you need to troubleshoot how to get it working again. And in general, everything is just very unintuitive. It's built for one person, and that person's mindset is definitely not the same mindset as what I do. Hermes agent is similar to OpenClaw. It's more mature. It's more stable. It was not released, but the company behind it made it back in October, November 2025, while OpenClaw first came out in February of 2026. It have really, really good documentation. When I began to read about this and do everything, I had questions, and directly in the documentation, it showed that. I will give a small example on that in 1 second. And it just feels like the developers have the right mindset. They have the same mindset as me. I can feel in how things should be done, how things should be handled, how the way we approach things. So it just felt so much nicer to use for my mindset compared to OpenClaw, which is a wild and crazy world out there. Hermes agent have a bit too many out-of-the-box skills, so it comes like with 70-something skills, and they're all on by default with actually burns tokens, so I didn't really like that, but it's just a cleanup job in the beginning. It could be nice if they were all off by default and then you needed to turn them on, but that's not how they chose. They're also very terrible at Web GUI in my mind. They can't figure out colors and fonts that are actually readable. But luckily you don't need to use their website. I've also noticed so far over the last 2 weeks that setup could be better. It's a little clunky the way it works. It have actually gotten a brand new one I haven't tried because I haven't reinstalled lately. And upgrades can be a bit rough. I have had one upgrade where it actually totally broke my system and I needed to reinstall. Not that I lost anything in terms of setups, but it can happen. I'm running it on Windows, and until a few days ago, in their documentation, they said it was very rough on Windows compared to Mac and Linux. But now that's actually gone from the README file. So, of course, it's still very new. And it also sometimes feels like it's not really meant for this because, example, you need to start the gateway using a scheduled task and there's no Windows service. But that's where the documentation come in. They actually write a specific section, why haven't we chose a Windows service? And it's about not needing to have admin rights and stuff like that. So they're really good at explaining why they do what they do and why they don't do what they don't do. So that's it just feels nice to me. Interface-wise, you can get a TUI in this yellow color. It's kind of okay. And very recently, they actually made a small app that looks a lot like all the other everything apps that runs right now. Again, these agents are more for autonomous work, so you don't really talk to them too much other than setup. But it's nice that there is an app like this. When you need to talk to it via mobile phone or tablets, you need to do it through one of these different services, Telegram, WhatsApp, Slack, and so on. I've chosen Telegram. And to be honest, the interface is not very nice in any of these tools. So I might want to check out different tools as well that might be a little better. But you often can't get anything rendered very good here. There's no dedicated and mobile tablet app. None of them really have that. It might be too expensive or it might not be ready yet. That would be my preferred way to actually get something that are dedicated to these agents, but nothing there yet. So what do I use it for? And I have some overviews and then some details here. So like all other people probably in the world, I gather a lot of data. I gather news about various different things. What might differ from many others, I have for a long time used RSS feeds. And instead of going to various different websites every single day and check news and stuff, I took it into RSS and read it like that. I've made some email news, but I also checked a few websites. I check Twitter or X. So there was a bunch of things that I needed, or not needed, but did check out on a regular basis on in a day. I also, of course, had some digital maintenance chores, actions to various emails I got, schedules of things I needed to do, cleanups, do things and such. And then I had various things as I mentioned here, data dumps. I put something into Apple Reminders, Microsoft To Do for work, Notion for notes, and so on and so forth. So quite normal, but also quite time consuming when you think about what you actually sit and do. And you go up and check, is there anything in here? Is there anything here? And so on. So what I'm trying to do and have been doing for a long time, but now these agents make it even easier for me, is to actually go in and take all my news sources. all the things I want to check out and aggregate it into a central place and with filters. So, example, I follow something called MacRumors, which is all about Apple and stuff like that. And I do that because I follow iPhones and iPads, but they also talk a lot about Macs. And every time I go get my RSS news feeds from that, there's a bunch of news stories I don't care about. The same for general news from various news medias. There are certain things I like to know about, world information and stuff things, but I couldn't care less when they begin to put in sports news and stuff. The local handball team won this and this. Who cares in my mind? So general news are not filtered to what you want. And if you just go to these places or just use RSS, you don't really get things. And at the same time, in many of these places, there's ads as well. RSS feeds luckily don't take care of that. So what I have done here is I have taken all my news and aggregated it, filtered it, and put it on a schedule, meaning I read the news 2 times a day, in the morning and in the evening. And these setups take care of that I don't need to check all this by myself. I just get it delivered. And in my case, my delivery method is Gmail. And that might sound strange. Why do I do that when I have Telegram or all the other places I can get things? I come to realize that Gmail or email in general is a really, really good platform for news, for information in one place. First of all, I get emails for other things as well. But also, emails can be formatted using HTML. Often these messaging platforms can't really show a good format. They have just one format and not configurable. And emails can be snoozed. It can be kept in an inbox until you have time for it. It's asynchronous in that way. So for that reason, it's a really, really good platform for me. But of course, all this news could be delivered in all other kinds of places if you wish to. The digital market maintenance I've taken away, that was mostly having schedules to, for example, check if I in my spam filter if something was a false positive, or whenever I got an invoice for my company, it needed to go into a special folder in my OneDrive and such things. And that has been completely taken away now by automations. And I've also taken my way of putting data into other systems and combined it a bit more. So going from 2 different reminder systems into one, Microsoft To Do. I would have liked to be in Apple Reminders, but it's simply not possible because they don't have an API. Shame on them. So now everything is in Microsoft To Do. And I've taken everything from Notion and put into LLM Wiki. I like Notion, but having it in raw wiki format means that I can use it for anything. And LLM wikis are really, really good for AIs in general. So it's essentially Obsidian now I use instead of Notion. In a bit more details, I put up a cron job that goes in and check my Gmail for false positives. And if it finds any, it pings me about it. I put in these invoice fetching. So I've set up if I get a email from Microsoft Azure and it has an attachment, take the attachment out, put it in this folder where I store all my invoices that has not been processed yet, and go in and archive the mail so I don't need to myself. This was the digital chore I had before that, needing to do these steps every time that mail came, do this, every time that mail came, do this, and so on. So I also, of course, have some backups. In the beginning of Hermes, I tried to really, I want to install it in a special folder, so it's in OneDrive by default and all kinds of things. And I found out it was better to go with the flow where it wanted to be, and just set up some jobs to take backups into OneDrive once every night in order to get backups of things. And then I have this main send news digest that have a bunch of RSS sources behind the scenes that it grabs. Then the skill that is behind it will go in and check for all the things I want to ignore. I don't want to hear about sports. I don't want to hear about this, and this. And it will use AI to filter it down to what it is. And then it will use some Python scripts in order to put it into an email in a structured format that I have decided, and send that out as a cron job every morning and every night. I have so far kept X News in a separate email, but it could go into the same email. I might change that at any point, but right now it is a dedicated email. I have weekly wiki backups as well, or daily wiki backups as well. So I both have the Hermes part and the LLM wiki by itself. And then I have some watchers where I actually want mails on demand when something happens. Whenever a new Codex version from OpenAI is out, I want to have it as soon as possible. And whenever a new AI model comes from Gemini, from Anthropic, from OpenAI, it will alert me on a 30-minute interval. In general, also, I've given it as much information about me as possible in its various instruction files, so it can know where I live if it needs that for something, what my phone is, and so on. I haven't set any fancy things up that it can call me and all these things that many people claim to do on the system. But if it needs the information, I'm not against it having it for various reasons. I have hooked it up to my Google Calendar, so if I ever need to do something with that or just want to have a quick overview. But again, often these things, I have a calendar on my tablet, which I often have with me on my phone. So often it doesn't need to be there. But if I want to suddenly give it some instruction to do this, and this, it should have access to such things. Then there's the Microsoft To Do, so that's mostly for putting in shopping, things I need to buy, things I need to, some video ideas I have, food ideas, board game ideas, which goes into the LM Wiki, books I want to read, travel notes, people I know, instructions about them, all goes into a wiki, so I can see it easily, I can edit it easily, but an AI can also edit it easy. What I don't use it for is, I don't use it for coding. Some people say they code using this. I essentially make scripts, of course, in the various skills and so on. But for real coding, I still use Codex because it's a much more dedicated platform for that. I also don't use it for just questions and searches. I still use ChatGPT for that because it's a much better interface again. If there were dedicated mobile apps and travel and tablet apps, I could see a future where I would stop using ChatGPT in this way and only use it using a autonomous AI agent. Ideas I have under my to-do list is I want to collect stats. I want to collect stats about YouTube, Udemy, and various other platforms I'm on. The main problem is that the APIs for stats collection are often very limited. So example, Udemy can give you stats about your courses, but it can't give you stats about the revenue of those courses. So I end up in those stats in their dedicated apps anyway on the times I want to see that. In the perfect world, I had some kind of dashboard that was updated regularly for me, where I could go in and check all these things instead of going to multiple places. But right now, APIs are not good enough. In general, the world needs to begin to run on APIs more than they already do today. I have ideas for meal prep. Meal prep have always in the past been go to this website, follow what they think, and then one day there's something you don't like or don't prefer making. Making meal preps could very easily happen that it just sent me a mail every Sunday that buy this and make this, and this. That could be a cool thing to have it for. I also wanted to do YouTube stuff. There's the stat collection again. There is API pains in that, but there's also been ideas about go to my YouTube channel and figure out what I should talk about more in Agent Framework, for example, or can we make an FAQ based on all the videos and all the transcripts so people can go in and ask a small LLM about what is on the YouTube channel. So there's cool ideas around using YouTube and its transcribe feature of getting everything out of a video, so we could make some kind of interface for you to better work with my channel as well. That could be really cool. And then, of course, I come up with ideas every single day on what I have. I have a to-do list in Microsoft To Do on what things I want to do. These are the 3 that are on that list right now, but always new things come along. So that's everything on how I do my MS setup at the moment. We can dive, if you wish to, sound out in the comments if you want to see certain things, how I build certain of the skills or anything. But I really like this. I've tried OpenClaw in the past, set it up, got it working, and I couldn't really figure out what to do. And it seems like the news aggregation and filtering was the real thing that really got me triggered into working with these. So with that, thank you. See you on the next one.